The cameras flashed. The crowd, I mean, they completely froze. And just like that, Hollywood had a brand new obsession.
Welcome to StarScope Report.
Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals.
From red carpet surprises to, social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And today we are taking you on a massive deep dive into a story that basically broke the internet. Our mission is to unpack the glaring, impossible-to-ignore absence of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds from what the New York Times literally called an American royal wedding.
We are going to be looking at a massive stack of sources for this. We've got deep dive Reddit threads, Wikipedia timelines, and reports from The Independent, Perez Hilton, and Forbes.
Right, because we really need to piece together the timeline of this fractured friendship. We're looking at the calculated PR moves on both sides and, honestly, what it tells you about navigating personal relationships on a massive global stage.
Because navigating a wedding guest list is already like a total minefield of politics for any normal person.
Oh, 100%. It's the worst.
Well, you have to imagine doing that with billions of eyes watching your every move. Every seat at every table is being analyzed.
And monetized.
Yeah.
Like every perceived slight becomes a headline. But before we get into the drama, if you are loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you are subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead, and you don't want to miss this one.
Exactly. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button.
So, to really grasp the weight of Blake and Ryan's absence, we have to first establish just how massive this event was. We are talking about July 3rd, 2026, Madison Square Garden.
The sheer scale of it is just hard to comprehend, because if this had been a small, intimate, family-only backyard thing, an absence wouldn't even be a story.
No, it would be totally expected. You just say, oh, we couldn't fit everyone.
Exactly. You have that built-in plausible deniability, but this was the exact opposite of a low-key gathering.
It was an absolute spectacle. The entire entertainment world just came to a halt. Manhattan was covered in these hot pink billboards flashing, just TNT married.
And Madison Square Garden itself was completely transformed. They shut the whole arena down and turned it into this lush Alice in Wonderland meets Wizard of Oz forest.
With 1,000 guests. 1,000.
Which strips away any excuse of limited capacity.
Mm-hmm.
If you invite 1,000 people, you are not tight on space.
Right. And right before the event, they made a $26 million donation to food banks and charities across the U.S.
Which, honestly, is a masterful piece of preemptive public relations.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
Because when you rent out an arena that normally holds the New York Knicks just for your private party, you risk looking like a totally out-of-touch oligarch.
Oh, yeah. In a tough economy, it can come across as so tone-deaf.
Exactly. So by dropping a staggering $26 million into charities nationwide, you completely insulate yourself against critics. You control the narrative before anyone can even write a negative headline about your extravagance.
It's just so smart. And the high-low balance of the wedding itself was just as calculated.
The aesthetic they went for was fascinating.
It really was. Look at the inner circle. They didn't have a traditional massive bridal party. Taylor had her brother Austin as her man of honor, and Travis had his brother Jason as his best man.
And the officiant.
Adam Sandler. Like, they had Adam Sandler officiate their wedding.
Which is such a brilliant, slightly disarming choice,
Right, because on one hand, you have Adam Sandler in a suit cranking jokes at the altar. But on the other hand, the bride and groom are draped in custom Christian Dior haute couture.
Designed by Jonathan Anderson.
Yes, his first couture bridal design for a massive celebrity. And she paired it with this exclusive Cartier jewelry.
It creates this highly specific vibe. It's like the ultimate, we're just relatable, fun people facade, but it's layered directly over this untouched billionaire status.
Yeah, totally relatable people who give out rehearsal dinner favors in black velvet boxes etched with their initials, holding diamond-encrusted champagne flutes.
I mean, the entertainment alone was basically a Grammy telecast on steroids.
Oh my gosh. Stevie Nicks, Ciara, Fergie, and then Paul McCartney singing I Want to Hold Your Hand.
Which is only the second time a Beatle has performed that song since 1964.
Wow.
Yeah, you cannot buy that kind of cultural cachet. That has to be freely given by the absolute titans of the industry.
To me, this whole guest list felt like the ultimate Hollywood draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you had any cultural relevance whatsoever in the year 2026, you were drafted to Madison Square Garden that weekend. Selena Gomez, Tom Hanks, Steven Spielberg, Bradley Cooper, everyone was there.
And that heavily curated, all-encompassing nature of the event is precisely why this absence sent such a shockwave.
Yes.
This wasn't just a wedding, it was a cultural summit. And when two people who have historically been woven into the very fabric of the bride's life are missing from that summit, it isn't an oversight.
No, it is an exile.
Exactly.
And that is not even the wildest part, because wait until you hear how Blake and Ryan actually responded to this snub. It is PR gold.
It really is textbook celebrity counter-programming.
So because the wedding was this undeniable who's who,
Yeah.
the fact that Blake Lively was missing immediately became the headline.
Right. I mean, her children are literally named in Taylor's songs on the Folklore album.
Yes, Taylor is godmother to those kids. So the minute people realized they weren't in the arena, the absence was all anyone could talk about. But they didn't just sit quietly at home with the curtains drawn.
No, they made a very loud statement of their own.
According to a breakdown in The Independent, instead of being at this lavish rehearsal dinner, Blake and Ryan were photographed hundreds of miles away in Lake Placid, New York.
At a horse show.
Right, at a horse show for their 6-year-old daughter, Betty. And sources made it very clear this was a highly deliberate, high-profile outing.
They wanted to be seen, quote, smiling and carrying on, to broadcast this message that life goes on.
But, okay, let me push back on the optics here for a second.
Go for it.
Does staging a highly visible, incredibly happy family outing, specifically to prove that you don't care about a wedding, actually just prove exactly how much you do care?
Well, it certainly edges into performative territory.
I mean, think about it in normal life. If you get left off a guest list for a big party and you spend that entire Saturday night aggressively posting Instagram stories of yourself at, like, a mini golf course,
Right.
making sure all your mutual friends see how thrilling your life is, they're going to see right through it. They're going to know you're absolutely spiraling.
That is the inherent risk of this kind of counter-programming. It screams, look at me, I'm unbothered.
Yeah,
Which, as we know, is the battle cry of the incredibly bothered.
exactly.
But you have to evaluate this through the brutal mathematics of the tabloid ecosystem.
What do you mean?
Well, in our everyday lives, our friends know our nuances. But in tabloid life, the only currency is the photograph.
Ah, right.
If Blake and Ryan just hide inside their house all weekend, the tabloids are going to simply use an old, sad-looking file photo of Blake looking miserable, and they will run that right next to a glowing, gorgeous photo of Taylor and Dior.
Oh, wow. So you literally have to feed the beast a new image.
Precisely. You have to provide the media with a visual alternative. By showing up at a wholesome, family-centric event in upstate New York, smiling, looking completely grounded, they force the tabloids to run that specific photo.
So even if the headlines still say they were snubbed, visually they look like these thriving parents who prioritize their daughter over Hollywood glitz.
It is entirely about reclaiming agency in a situation where they were functionally rejected.
That makes so much sense. But to really grasp how we got to these aggressively happy paparazzi photos, we have to look at the dark reality of what broke this friendship in the first place.
And we'll talk about the shocking twist nobody saw coming with those unsealed text messages in just a second.
Seriously, this part of the deep dive is wild. How does a friendship that survived the intense radioactive days of Snakegate fall apart so spectacularly?
We really need to contextualize Snakegate briefly to understand the magnitude of this fracture.
Right, back in 2016.
Exactly. During that massive public feud involving Kim Kardashian, Kanye West, and that leaked phone call, Taylor Swift was subjected to one of the most intense digital pylons in internet history. She essentially withdrew from the public eye for a whole year.
She was universally labeled a snake. It was peak cancel culture before we even really used that term.
And during that era, when associating with Taylor was considered brand poison, Blake Lively was one of the very few celebrities who loudly and publicly stood by her side.
Surviving that kind of industry exile together, it forges a bond that seems totally bulletproof.
Which makes the unraveling of it all the more fascinating, because the root of this modern rift traces back to a messy legal battle.
According to the Wikipedia and Reddit timelines, this stems from Blake Lively's legal battle with actor and director Justin Baldoni over their film, It Ends With Us.
Right. And that lawsuit was eventually settled in May of 2026, with Blake seeking $8 million in fees.
The allegations were heavy, too. We are talking claims of a toxic workplace and sexual harassment on set. But the turning point for Taylor didn't actually happen when the lawsuit was filed.
No, it happened in May of 2025 when Taylor herself was served a subpoena by Baldoni's lawyers.
That subpoena is the catalyst for everything.
Because up until that point, unsealed private text messages, which made public in January 2026 as part of the legal discovery process. They revealed that Taylor was actively supporting Blake.
Yeah, she was acting as a private sounding board.
But the texts show a very distinct shift in the dynamic once that legal net started widening. Taylor starts expressing that she feels distanced.
She explicitly tells Blake she wants to, quote, stay away from the drama, noting that the situation just morphed into something vastly bigger and messier than she ever anticipated.
Which, is an entirely rational response when a friend's professional conflict threatens to drag you into a literal deposition.
It's the ultimate relatable human element here. Think about your own group chats. You have probably had a friend whose personal drama starts hijacking your peace.
Definitely.
At first you're supportive, you listen, you give advice, but eventually the toxicity starts bleeding into your own life. Like, how long do you act as a sounding board before you have to mute the thread and set a boundary to protect yourself?
It is the ultimate test of relationship. And if you zoom out and look at Taylor's broader career context in 2025, her boundary makes absolute strategic sense.
Oh, she had just come off the Monumental Eras tour.
Exactly. She was riding this unprecedented wave of near-universal goodwill and economic dominance.
You do not want to follow up being Times Person of the Year with a public deposition in a Hollywood toxic workplace feud.
No. Being legally subpoenaed to testify about someone else's messy harassment lawsuit is the exact antithesis of the meticulously crafted, empowering brand she had just spent years perfecting.
Her entire empire is built on control.
And the moment those private text messages were unsealed and made public in early 2026, it violated that control. For someone who guards her perimeter as closely as she does, being dragged into the collateral damage of another celebrity's legal battle is just an unforgivable breach.
So she sets that boundary. But setting a boundary with a friend in private is one thing. How Taylor's team handled the actual guest list for Madison Square Garden is a masterclass in aggressive narrative control.
It really is.
Because if you leave your former best friend off the list, the media is going to lose its mind. They will start inventing a million rumors about who else is secretly feuding with Taylor.
So to ensure that didn't happen, Taylor's team employed a strategy that Perez Hilton referred to as full inclusion mode.
Which is fascinating. To ensure they control the narrative, they just invited everyone else.
It is a counterintuitive but totally brilliant tactic. Instead of keeping the guest list tight and exclusive to avoid drama, you just swing the doors wide open.
Reports say they invited past collaborators, people Taylor hadn't been seen with in years, literally just to kill any who got snubbed rumors before they could even germinate.
And the most shocking contrast of the entire night, the thing that Reddit users zeroed in on immediately, was that Karlie Kloss was invited.
And she actually attended.
Yes. TMZ reported that they formally buried the hatchet.
Okay, but let me stop you right there. If the ultimate goal of this wedding was to be completely, quote-unquote, drama-free, wouldn't strategically excluding your former best friend create way more drama than just inviting her?
You would think so, right?
Like, why not just invite Blake, stick her at table 85 in the nosebleeds of the arena, and let her eat her catered sushi in peace?
Because putting her at table 85 would still generate hundreds of articles analyzing their body language, tracking whether they made eye contact, or dissecting if Blake looked miserable during the toast.
Oh, that's true. The body language experts would have a field day.
Exactly. Leaving her off the list entirely certainly created one massive headline, but, and this is the core genius of the PR strategy here, it contained the blast radius.
Okay, explain the mechanics of that blast radius for me. How does that work?
Well, imagine Taylor kept the guest list to just 200 close confidants.
Right.
The media would look at the hundreds of famous people who weren't there and invent 10 different feuds. Did she fall out with this pop star? Is she punishing this actor?
They would just fill in the blanks.
Exactly. By making the guest list impossibly broad, even extending an olive branch to a former enemy like Karlie Kloss Taylor, completely removed all the oxygen for general gossip.
She starved the tabloids of speculation.
Yes.
She left them with exactly one story to write.
She handed them a sanctioned storyline on a silver platter. It prevented a dozen fake rumors from overshadowing the wedding. But more importantly, the inclusion of Karlie Kloss serves as a direct, highly visible message to Blake.
It's like putting a literal spotlight on an empty chair.
That is the perfect way to describe it.
By inviting Karlie, Taylor is proving to the world that she is perfectly capable of forgiveness and reconciliation.
Right.
which implies that whatever Blake did to cross the line was so severe, so beyond the pale, that it falls entirely outside the bounds of that grace.
It shifts the public burden of guilt squarely onto Blake's shoulders. It weaponizes the very concept of forgiveness.
Wow.
It says to the public, look, I am a reasonable, forgiving person. If someone isn't here today, it is their fault, not mine. It is surgical in its precision.
When we started this deep dive, we were just looking at a wedding, but what we've actually mapped out is a proxy war fought entirely through public relations strategies.
Absolutely.
We've gone from an $8 million toxic workplace lawsuit and unsealed court documents to a carefully staged Lake Placid horse show meant to project apathy.
All the way to the strategic invitation of former foes to Madison Square Garden, just to isolate a former friend.
It demonstrates that at the apex of fame, there is literally no such thing as a purely personal decision.
No, every single invitation sent, every absence noted, and every paparazzi photo staged is a deliberate form of public communication. The personal and the promotional are completely indistinguishable at that level.
It's honestly kind of terrifying when you put it like that. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final provocative thought to mull over.
Let's hear it.
We spent this entire time analyzing how meticulously Taylor orchestrated this event to be drama-free, right? By cutting Blake out, she contained the blast radius, she controlled the headline.
She got exactly what she wanted.
But did she? By making such a loud, definitive statement, did she accidentally guarantee the opposite of what she wanted?
How so?
Think back to a normal family wedding. The dramatic friend who gets a pity invite eventually just blends into the background of the photos 20 years later. Nobody remembers they were even there.
That's true.
But by refusing to let Blake blend into the background, and by using her absence as a strategic weapon, did Taylor accidentally ensure that this broken friendship will permanently be recorded as a defining piece of her wedding's historical legacy?
Oh, wow.
She wanted a flawless narrative, but she may have just made an empty chair the loudest guest in the room.
That is definitely something to think about.
You've been listening to StarScope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture.
Thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.